Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of hot tea with snacks if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a woman who became crazy because she thought OP had a knife and tried to assault her. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. A little background. I have a 12-year-old sister with Down syndrome and autism. My mom and I took her to the doctors, and for a reward we took her to Starbucks after, since she loves Starbucks. EM. Entitled mother. EK. Entitled kid, about 6 or 7 years old. LS. Little sister. P. Barista. So me and little sister get into Starbucks after the appointment. Well, my mom stays in the car. She recently had back surgery, so we don't want her moving too much unnecessarily. We get inside and I order a drink for me, my mom, my daughter at home, and for my sister. Now, my sister was already pretty upset and stressed out since she had a rather painful appointment with way too many shots for her liking, but she desperately wanted this Starbucks. I go up to order, and behind me is EM and EK. I pay and we go to sit down at one of the tables to wait for our drinks, but my sister wasn't having it and was running around crazy. The sweet barista then asks if she wants to watch her make the drink, so I walk over with her to part of the counter where you could see what is happening. LS is amazed and loved watching the barista mix the drink and put all the stuff in it. By now EM and EK had finished ordering, EM went to sit down, and EK wandered over to us to watch as well. I didn't have a problem with this, and both the girls were having fun watching. LS got whipped cream on her drink, and the barista let her put her own sprinkles on it. Now here is where the drama starts. Right when EK sees that LS is putting her own sprinkles on her drink, she starts begging to put some sprinkles on herself. Here is the conversation that follows. I want to put some sprinkles on it too. Well sweetie, this is actually LS's drink, but you can put some sprinkles on when your drink is ready. But no, I want to put sprinkles on this one, insert wailing here. At this point EM comes over. What's the problem here? Well, your daughter wanted to put some sprinkles on this other little girl's drink, but I told her no since it doesn't belong to her. Well, why can't my daughter put some on it too? You let this other girl. Like I said before, this isn't her drink, and I did mention that she could put sprinkles on her own. Mommy, I want to please. Well, we're not putting sprinkles on a pink drink, so just give her the damn sprinkles. At this point LS is getting overstimulated from all the yelling, so I try taking her away, but she is so determined to get this drink that she won't leave. The barista slides the drink over to me and LS, but right before we can take it, EM comes over and grabs it and gives it to EK. Me and barista both start telling her that the drink is LS's, but she just ignores us and gives it to EK. LS starts screaming and trying to grab it from EK. EK gets scared and runs behind EM, and while I'm trying to control LS, EK takes a sip of the drink and spits it out onto the floor. Mommy, I don't like this, it tastes like throw up. Excuse me, this isn't the drink we want. EK obviously doesn't like it, I want a refund. Both me and barista are completely shocked, and barista starts trying to reason with EM. I didn't completely hear everything that happened since LS started having a panic attack. Once again I tried leaving with her, but this girl would not leave without a drink. Eventually EM and EK leave and throw the drink in the trash. What they say next though made me so angry I was speechless. The barista told them they needed to pay for the drink, and as EM is walking through the door, she says tell that little, insert slur toward people with mental disabilities, to pay for it. At this point I'm fuming and I wanted to run after her and give her a piece of my mind, but instead I was frozen in shock that someone would use that word to a child. Anyways, the barista apologized and let LS help make another drink on the house and even threw in a cake pop. If I worked there and management allowed it, I would be tempted to save a photo of EM. If she returned, I would refuse her service for being abusive to another customer, refusing to listen to staff, and taking items that were not hers. I was grocery shopping with my grandmother. The old lady was struggling with those crappy plastic bags at the vegetables aisle that you need some kind of magical powers to open. After I finished teasing her about how she was struggling, I give her a paper bag saying, "Here, it will be easier. And it's more environmental friendly anyway. No sea turtles will choke on it." Since I was talking to an 87-years-old woman, my voice was a bit louder than it would be in a public setting, since she is not hard on hearing, no missy, not at all. Everyone else is just too soft-spoken and doesn't know how to articulate. And TV sound systems had gone to crap over the years. No sooner I ended that sentence than I heard wailing in the vicinity of my hip. I looked down, and here was a little boy clutching his plushy sea turtle and crying as if I just killed a bunch of sea turtles myself in front of his eyes. Oh crap, I told to myself, because I miraculously managed to have enough self-control to not curse in front of the kid I already managed to traumatize a bit. My very supportive grandmother grinned at me, wished me good luck, and walked away in the hunt of chocolate cookies or another sugary item she pretends her doctor told her she can totally eat with her diabetes, and tries to sneak in the cart when I am not looking. Between the overgrown toddler that I call meme and the real toddler that was still crying his heart out, I decided to deal with it. I thought that would be the easiest and crouched down to the boy's level. "Hey, kid. You heard what I said?" I asked in my soft, "This is a dangerous animal that will attack and kill you if you make too loud noise or sudden movement" voice. The kid nodded his head quickly and forcefully. I lightly put my hand on his head to make him stop because I was a bit afraid he'd make himself sick or snapped his neck or something. "Where's your parents?" I asked him then. It only then occurred to me that it's been about half a minute and no parents came to rescue their screaming kid. The kid pointed to a woman a bit farther away. She was leaning on her cart looking at her phone. I have to admit that I rolled my eyes and internally passed judgment on this woman, while completely forgetting that I too spend my time in the store looking at my phone, since it's where there's the shopping list. I was now a judgmental witch as well as a toddler's traumatizer. That was not a good day for me. Nonetheless, I took the kid's hand and walked him to the woman. She didn't notice us approaching, nor standing there. The kid had calmed down a bit, but he was still sniffling and hiccupping and making weird crying noises that only toddler have the secrets. "Excuse me, miss," I called in my I'm talking to so not deaf grandma voice. She finally looked up from her phone, looked at me with a somewhat dazed look. Then she finally noticed her kid who was still holding my hand and clutching his sea turtle and clearly upset. She took her kid away from me, a bit forcefully, her face changed into crazy angry witch, and she yelled at me. "Why are you with my son? What have you done to him?" Since I was feeling guilty, I took the yelling and tried to explain the situation. It seems that he overheard me talking about the effect of plastic bags on sea turtles. I tried to phrase it in a way that I avoid to say in front of the kids that sea turtles are dying, again. In the stupid hope he had already forgotten what he heard about 2 minutes ago. Of course, the mom don't understand and I need to be more explicit. So I literally spelled it out. I said that they CHOKE on it. Because I lost my brain and sense of ridicule in the vegetable aisle, apparently. Of course the kid wasn't entirely stupid. He might not know how to spell, but he knew what we were talking about and he didn't have any issue with immediate memory. So he went back to crying. The mom ignored it. To her, the appropriate course of action here was to scream at me some more instead of trying to comfort her crying kid. "Why would you tell this to a child?" she asked me. I didn't tell him that. I wouldn't do something like that. I was talking to my grandmother. I haven't seen him near me. He simply overheard. And I'm sorry he overheard that. I defended myself and finally managed to work in the apology that I wanted to give since the beginning. "You shouldn't talk about such sensitive topics when there's a kid around," she still screamed at me. At that point, I'm low-key impressed that her voice isn't hoarse already. "I didn't know that your kid was there," I repeated. Then I tried to go past it because blame is good and great, but there's still an upset and confused kid there. "Look, I'm knowledgeable on the topic and I'm used to work with kids. Would you agree that we explain all of it to him together so he can understand better and be less afraid for his best friend?" "Are you calling me a bad mom?" she screeched. Confused because, where the hell did she pick that from what I said, I answered no. I have to confess, in pedo, I was thinking that I was starting to consider it. I mean, woman, your kid is crying in your arms and you're more focused on me than the kid. What the hell? Then it occurred to me that it's time to get myself away from the situation. "I apologize again," I said. "I'm sorry I unwillingly upset you, son," I said to the woman. But I couldn't just leave without trying to reassure the kids somehow. "Don't worry. Your friend will be fine if you make sure all the plastic bags your family use don't go in the water." As I started to walk away, the woman grabbed my arm. "You stay here. This is not enough. I want you to buy him a toy. To compensate." I foolishly agreed, thinking about the little €3 toys that they sell in the shop. They always have a little figurine to do with the sea. But no, she had something else in mind. She brought me to the toys aisles and pointed at the little electric cars. Okay, here I understood. The kid surely asked for it. She doesn't have the money and is trying to use me to get it for him. I can't afford that. She tried to start to argue, but I cut her off. Look, I left my elderly and sick grandmother alone long enough. I need to get back to her, and I walked away very quickly, as if I had eaten really spicy chili the night before and needed to find a bathroom quickly. When I came back to my grandmother, she had added Oreos and chocolate eclair in the cart. Then I had to convince her to not go find that woman and hit her with her cane. She only agreed to let it go if I let her keep the Oreos. We all need a grandma who wants to smack annoying people with a cane. And such coincidence that you were just talking about sea turtles choking in front of a kid that just so happens to have a sea turtle toy. It was a sunny day, and I just left work. I put on my sunglasses, cap and headphones to listen to some music, got on my bicycle and headed home, when I remembered that I had to get some groceries if I didn't want to starve that evening. So I stop at a grocery store, which is no more than a 1-minute detour from the route I usually take. Outside the grocery store I saw a police car standing still, no idea why they were there, but important for later. I put my bike in a bicycle stand, lock it, take off my cap and sunglasses, put on my mask and get inside. I go in, got my items and paid for it, stuffed all of it in my backpack, and got out in less than 5 minutes. Less self-checkout. Before I got out of the door, I put my cap and sunglasses back on. I'm photophobic, which means I'm sensitive to bright lights. I grabbed my bicycle keys out of my pocket, flipped open the key, it's one of those keys you can fold in when you're not using it, and walked back outside to my bike when I heard the loudest shriek I've ever heard, loud enough to wake up the dead. This woman, who I'm going to call Banshee, who's standing close to where my bike is, yelling he's got a knife while pointing in my direction. And before you ask, she wasn't an old middle-aged woman with a Karen hairstyle, but an average-looking woman around the age of 30 with a kid who was maybe 4 years old. I've never seen her before in my life. Since I didn't have a knife on me, I looked behind me, not seeing anyone wielding a knife, and I asked Banshee what's going on, and she just started yelling louder, as if I was going to murder her. Note, I was still wearing my mask since I forgot to take it off, along with a cap and sunglasses, so you couldn't see my face at all. Banshee just kept on yelling and screaming while her kid was standing behind her also crying her eyes out, probably because that screaming scared her. Me and like 10 other people are all watching at this woman, confused at what's going on. It took maybe 15 seconds before 3 police officers came running looking at what was going on. Banshee runs straight towards the police officers, abandoning the kid who just started to scream louder, and waddles after Banshee and begs the officers to protect her from the man with the knife. Around this time, I noticed I was still wearing my mask and took it off, along with my sunglasses. The 3 police officers look at the small crowd that had gathered looking for anyone with a knife, not seeing anyone holding one, so they ask, who is the one with the knife, if he's still here. Banshee points straight towards me, and again, still not aware she's pointing at me, look behind me for the one with a knife. The 3 police officers walk towards me, hands on their holster, but no gun drawn, telling me to drop my knife. Then it dawned on me, she thought my key was a knife. Just a regular size key, so I drop my keys the moment they hit the floor. I see each of them giving me a confused look, telling me again to drop my knife. I show that my hands are empty, and they ease up a little. One of the police officers walks back towards Banshee and asks her again to point at the man with a knife. She just yells again that they got the right person. The other officer asks me if I have anything on me that can be misinterpreted as a knife. I obviously say no, other than my keys maybe. Banshee then yells that I must have put it in my backpack before the officers got there. I had nothing interesting in my backpack other than groceries, some gloves and a water bottle, so I offered the police officers to search my bags, which they did, finding nothing, obviously. Banshee started yelling at the 3 police officers that I should be arrested for carrying a weapon and threatening her. One of the officers asks me to move towards their car, separating us so they can figure out what is going on, so I pick up my keys off the ground, close my backpack and follow her. The police officer asks me for my ID card, which I gave her, and asks what is going on. I answer that I've no idea what is going on, who that woman is, and that I just got my groceries and was about to go home. While she was questioning me, I could still hear Banshee yell at the other 2 police officers. I couldn't bother to listen to what she was yelling. After what felt like forever, might have just been a minute, she stops to take a breath. The senior officer walks towards me, and he asks me if I was threatening her in any way. I again say no, and point out that everything that just happened was in clear view of a security camera, and they can confirm I wasn't doing anything close to what Banshee claimed I was doing. The senior officer looks at the cameras and then walked into the store to check out the security tapes, while the other two officers made sure neither of us would walk off. Around this time, Banshee started to make excuses that she had to leave because her daughter had to go home and calm down. She was still crying. About 6 or 8 minutes later, the senior officer walked out of the store, walked straight towards Banshee, and asks her again what exactly happened. She still claimed I was threatening to hurt her, but the officer just shut her up quickly and said she was lying the whole time and that she was trying to cause a panic. The officer gave her some hard words, threatened with some legal actions, or whatever you call it, but eventually let her go without arresting or giving her a ticket. Then he approached me and said I was also free to go, but to make sure I'd leave in the opposite direction Banshee went. I still can't believe someone can mistake a regular size key for a knife. I will say I have a pair of keys that flip out, and I do make jokes about it like it's a switchblade. And by the way, do you have license for yours? Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a woman who demanded deaf people kicked out of cafe cause they didn't speak. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.